All right, welcome to another episode of Forged Not Born. I have got with me Charlie today, who I am returning the favor for because I was on his podcast. Now he's on mine, so we're going to dive into his story now and how he got into bodybuilding, how he's finding everything. So, without further ado, Charlie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi guys, thank you for having me. I'm very fun. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, it's going to be a good chat, man. So I think we could start from the beginning if you want. Like we can tell the origin story, the training arc story if you want to work through it. Like it's some kind of a like superhero comic book story. We can make it the Charlie one, right? Or tabs, depends how you want to go through it. You know, because I know obviously your coach bio and
Train
everything
by
is trained by
tabs,
tabs.
yeah.
Yeah. So we can go through that. So yeah, start from the beginning, man. Like tell me a little bit about where you're based now. Where did you grow up? And how you kind of weaved your way into the bodybuilding crowd.
So I now live in Winchester. I used to live in Watford. I lived in Watford until I was 17. So
Mm.
quite a while, and I moved with family. But I started in the fitness space. Like I've been sporty all my life. I've done any sport that you can think of. I've probably done in some sort. I've always been naturally sporty, which is probably
Mm.
the most beneficial in terms of my career now, but also my mindset and how I view things, especially in sport. So I started off, my main big thing was swimming. I literally swam from the age of uh, 3 or 4, and I was competitively swimming from 7 until 17, pretty much, maybe just a little bit lower than that. Got all the way up to nationals. Loved it. It was my pride and joy, really. I spent
Mm.
countless weekends doing it and wasted so much time at competitions and not having a social
Well,
life.
maybe
But,
not wasted, right?
well, yeah, not wasted. But obviously, when you're in swimming, if you've ever been competitively, you know that all of your weekends are taken up by competitions. So your social circle is swimming, and that's okay. I'm
Mm.
fine with that. Um, but then COVID happened. So swimming came to a close for COVID one. I started getting into the gym. I started a little bit before that, just because all of the older guys were getting into the gym from swimming, to make themselves stronger and to make themselves quicker. So that's how I got into it in the first place. And then lockdown happened, and the gym was more prevalent in my life. And I just found myself really falling in love with it. Then came back to swimming, was bigger, was found swimming harder. Shock, surprise, surprise. Um, and then lockdown 2 happened, and that's where I kind of was like, yeah, let me put everything of my energy into the gym for a year. And over COVID 2, made the most progress I ever made, and kind of just said to myself that maybe this is my direction now, and maybe swimming's coming to an end. So I stopped swimming. I said to myself, I'll do one more race, and if I don't get this time, then I'll move to gym. And I was like 0.1 off the time that I wanted. So I was like, it's a sign, it's a sign. So I moved to the gym, and then, yeah, training for 5 years now, bodybuilding for 2 or 3. Yeah, it's fun. I'm really enjoying it, and trajectory's going the way that I want it to.
Awesome, man. So when you first got into the gym, you said you had a couple of the older guys that were doing. What kind of tips or what kind of conversations were you having with those older guys in the gym? What were the first bro comments that you were hearing?
So I don't think it was necessarily like bro comments. Um, it was more just like when you notice people are going more often, like you see them around,
Mm.
um, it kind of makes you interested in what they're doing and why they're doing it. And like everyone, you just start at the gym, you're just pissing about, you're not really focused too much on training and stuff like that. And it's just like lift as much as you can and ego lifting, all of that stuff.
Mm.
And I think that's how everyone should get into it. I think everyone nowadays it's like you're getting into the gym, and then you're all this optimal stuff, and you're trying to be the most optimal possible at such a young age. It's like just learn how to lift properly, how to
Mm.
train properly, and just train with intensity, and just build your way up as you go. Like there's plenty of time to focus on optimal isolations and all of those stuff. For the meantime, just lift big, lift heavy, and enjoy yourself.
I think that we see two extremes, right? Where like, and you mentioned kind of two of them there. Like one extreme is the optimized crowd that we see on the highlight reel or Instagram that are doing some crazy funky shit, right? Where you're like, yeah, you probably don't need to do that, mate. You don't have enough muscle, right? But then the flip
Yeah,
side of that, you've got like, 16, 17 year olds doing 1 rep max on bicep curls. Like there's a big
yeah.
extreme, and it's like, guys, go into the middle. It's not sexy. It's not going to be, you're not going to be part of a tribe. You're not going to flex in the gym. You're not going to be part of either of them, but you're going to probably get the best results.
Yeah, and I think there's it's always like even us, we're still finding balance. Like the more you get to know your body, the more you understand the way you train and how your body reacts.
Mm.
The more your training differs. So it's kind of just understanding the different things of training intensities, training volume, those kind of stuff, and that just comes with time. Um, but yeah, like you just mix everything up and just see what happens and hope for the best, and that's how starting out should be. It's just a big game of hoping.
Big game of fuck around and find out. When you first
Mm.
started trading, was there anything that you just noticed like just blew up quicker than other things?
Yeah, I've always had big arms. I think
Mm.
it's to a point where like I'll look back at photos and see that I had big arms, especially like my bicep peak, and like I'll see photos and videos of my bicep peak and I think like my arms haven't changed since then, but they obviously have. But yeah, like my upper body blew up quite quickly. I've always had quite a big chest from when I started the gym.
Mm.
So like chest and arms, and then my back has always been a strong point.
Mhm.
My legs has always been a lacking factor. So it's been a big game of chase with my legs. Let's just say that. And hopefully in the next year, my legs will be a strong point. So very, very excited for that one. But yeah.
Well, I have no doubt, obviously, you working with your coach in the gym, pushing the legs hard, like, there's no doubt it's just a matter of time, just putting in the work sometimes. Especially, we've all got like strengths and weaknesses from a physique standpoint. Most people,
Mm.
unless you are that guy. And there's not, yeah, again, there's not many of them. That kind of like 0.01% of people that just walk into the gym at 18 and blow up. There's
Mm.
that guy that they're touting as the next Phil Heath. Have you seen him?
What's his name?
I can't remember his name. I'll probably like throw him up here as a plug or something. But like he is so young and his arms are so ridiculously stupid that it's like no amount of bicep curls or work could ever get me to that stage. Like of
Yeah.
looking the way that looks, it's just not ever going to happen, mate. But it's an insane peak, insane, and that's just like the genetic glory, man. He's got it. Congratulations, throughout
Yeah.
that.
I think there's a few, I think they're Lithuanian potentially. um, like 18-year-olds who are just ridiculously sized, and it's just like you are gonna die early. We all know that, but you're also
If
genetic.
they're taking this stuff, yeah,
Well,
if they're
you can
taking the
tell they
special
are. You can
juice,
tell they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
I think like one of them's Krinix, whatever his name is.
Okay.
And like he went from stage ready condition, and he like put on 20, it's like 10, 20 kilos in like 4 weeks. It's ridiculous. It was actually mad. He like
It's a,
transformed.
it's
But it's
yeah,
just
it's
mainly
a mad
growth.
old game.
It's just huge growth
It,
hormone.
yeah, when you start messing around with all sorts of stuff, mate, it's an interesting cocktail, and it is in some ways very. I don't want to use like drug abuse and like it's the word inspiring together, right? I don't because, but what I do find is the physique development and what is capable is pretty inspiring in a sense of that. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
holy crap, like how can how can the body change this fast, and what's its actual upper potential limit? And if it took me 5 to 10 years, could I get there naturally? And that still be a very, very impressive physique naturally. So there's always that question that kind of runs in my mind is like, is that actually possible from a natural human perspective or not?
Yeah, I think there's time with the game. Everything's time based. And the less you focus on kind of, oh, how long is this going to take me? And more kind of like, how can I maximize this time? That's what's going to give you the most amount of progress. Is you gotta have a goal in mind. You've got to have a goal to focus on, to push yourself to be that better person. But in the grand scheme of things, it's always, how are you using your time? How are you being effective? And if you want X, Y, Z as a goal, how are you going to get there and how are you going to achieve that? And it's always kind of focusing on what you're doing to make sure that you're pushing yourself in the right ways and making the most of your energy and your time, because there's too many people out there that will just go to the gym and they'll waste their first 30 minutes, and people don't understand how crucial that first 30 minutes is for muscle growth. It's like you're at your peak, you're at your prime energy and lack of fatigue, and then 30 minutes in, you're a lot more fatigued than you were at the start of the session. And now all of a
Mm.
sudden, the exercises you're doing, the trainings you're doing, the muscles you're focusing on aren't getting as much stimulus as you could have been giving them.
Mm, yeah, a couple of things there come to mind. One is that, not actually focusing on the big stuff that actually is important. You can only do one exercise first. I tell my clients that quite a lot. It's like, look, whatever we do first, you're going to be the freshest and you're going to have the least fatigue, the most energy. So make sure that it's something that we want to see grow the most, or that maybe we want to see improve the most. Like whatever that is, we put that first. And then second, and moving on to that is that, yeah, just you don't want to waste time, right? Time is probably the most valuable thing that we have possible. With your competitive scene in swimming, how do you feel that helped you transition into bodybuilding?
I think it's more dedication than anything. It's when I competed for the first time in bodybuilding, I found it
Mm,
was exactly the same in terms of setup wise for the competition as swimming, which was quite surreal. I remember standing backstage, lining up, pumping up, and it just felt like I was seven again, standing in my first ever competition, standing around the pool, and it was very surreal because it was like when I was building up to the bodybuilding show, I was always telling myself whether or not it'd be right for me, I'd enjoy it as much as I
mm,
hoped, and that it would ultimately kind of exceed my expectations, and it did, and it did well. And just that feeling of being back and almost like I was suddenly 10 years younger and I was standing surrounded by guys in Speedos, except this time they're oiled up and tanned up instead of last time they weren't. Um, but yeah, I think
still both hairless.
still both hairless. Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. That's bad from you. um, but yeah, I think swimming definitely had a big impact in terms of the way I see competing and the effort I put towards it. And swimming's the same in the fact that the effort you put into your training sessions is what's going to outcome in your races. So it's the same as when you're on stage. It's like the effort that you've put into your training, into your workouts, is the reward that you'll get when you step on stage. So it's pretty similar in terms of when you break it down to its basics. Pretty identical. They're just one's in water and one's on a stage. It's different.
Mm. So talk me through. So you started bodybuilding. What year did you start bodybuilding?
Started bodybuilding 2023, I want to say. It was when I
Cool.
got my coach. I've been with him for about just coming up to 2 years now, just over 2 years.
Awesome. You can give him a shout out if you want. Who's your coach?
Carl Collymore. Carl Collymore. I've done a
Awesome.
podcast with him, so if you've seen the Built with Intent podcast, he's the second episode. That's my coach.
Sick. Yeah, absolutely plug that. So started 2023, started with your
Uh-huh.
coach. Talk me
Uh-huh.
through the, I'd say, timeline or experience coming through that. And then obviously into like your last competitive season.
So I I used to train at the gym. I used to train at a commercial gym, and it was good. It got me to where I wanted to be. It got me to where I kind of started off training. I was training with my best mate at the time, and we'd basically go from school we'd share an earpod. So I'd have one, he'd have one, and we'd cycle all the way to the gym, and then we'd train, and it was just like the best time. Like back in Ziz era when you used to listen to hardstyle all the time, we'd had hardstyle blowing in our ears as we're cycling. And then we both decided that we wanted to move to bodybuilding gym. So there
Mm,
was it was graftism at the time. It's now
mm,
gritness, and that's in Watford. And we moved there because we wanted to grow our physique. We wanted to be better. We wanted to look better. So we
mm,
moved to gritness or graftism at the time, and it was just surreal. It was my first ever experience in a bodybuilding gym, and it was just like music blaring, like it was just, yeah, it was like no other. I'd go back to that time if I could. Like literally just take me back, let me
mm.
enjoy that one more time. I'd love that. But yeah, so moved to a bodybuilding gym, trained there for about a year, half a year before I met my coach. Obviously, I'd met him before and spoken to him quite a bit before, so he knew who I
Was this in
was.
person?
Yeah, so he used to be a PT at my commercial gym, so I knew
Okay.
him from there. Um, and then yeah, it just the relationship blossomed. We spoke more. Then we kind of jumped on a call. Ended up joining him as a client, and then from there, it's just been progression, progression, progression. Didn't actually think I'd compete. I knew that would be something not the cause. It's the real reason I got a coach in the first place was to potentially compete because I had loads of people come up to me say, "You have an insane physique. Like you've got really good potential. You can be big in this sport." So I thought, why not give it a go? Even if my parents don't like it, I'll still try anyway. And yeah, prepped for 26 weeks, I think it was. It was a long, long prep. We prepped for a photo shoot first, and then we continued prep into a competition season, which was probably the hardest thing. A lot of lessons learned though. I think I looked the best I ever did at 5 weeks out, and then from there it kind of just got worse. And that was mainly due to my mental. It was just if I would have competed at 5 weeks, even though I wasn't necessarily 100% ready, if I would have done like a warm up show, I think it would have changed my outlook on that first show. It would have kept me in the mindset I needed to be to keep getting better, and I probably could have had a different outcome come the next few shows that I did. But you can't change these things, and I think going forward from that, the next time I'm at that 5 week out position in that condition, definitely look at just throwing in a warm up show and then keeping me locked into that mind because I don't really do well just sitting around and dawdling. I don't like that. I like to keep going. And once people start telling me, "Oh, you're ready," like you're basically there. My mind just switches off slightly, and then I'm just trying to catch my tail the whole time.
Interesting. Like, 'cause especially what you obviously we went into a little bit of the mindset there because there is a lot of mindset within physique development. People think it's just
Mhm.
about lifting heavy circles and dieting, right? But it's not, is it? There's a whole component around mindset.
Yeah, mindset's so unbelievably crucial. It's one of those that people overlook, like you said, overlook a lot, and it's so powerful, like ridiculously powerful. And if you don't understand the way that your brain works, then it can catch you off guard. And it did catch me off guard a few times. I think in prep, I at the start of prep, I thought to myself, "Oh, if I become really isolated, then it would benefit me because no one else has to deal with what I'm doing."
Mm.
And as a result, like I'll be in my own world and I won't be affecting other people. But actually, that made it worse because it was affecting people more because I was isolating and they weren't seeing me. And then it was kind of like my relationship with my family and my relationship with my parents got worse and worse over prep because my mum hated the way that I looked because I was just really ill looking and
I
skinny.
think that's a mum thing, because every
Yeah.
single person I've spoken to so far, and my parents were the same. I went to a family event around, I want to say July, August time. My first show was September. So as you can imagine, that death face was really coming in nicely, like cheekbones and everything. And they were kind of looking, it was like, you look kind of ill. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you get really lean and you start losing body fat
Yeah.
off your face.
Yeah, my my mum would always tell me, she'd be like, "Oh, so and so came up to me and said that you looked really, really ill and you looked horrible, and that was there something wrong with you?" And like my mum was
Mm,
like, "Oh, I had to keep explaining to them that you're actually okay and you're just prepping for this show." And I was, yeah, it was just draining. And I think the next time I do a prep, I'm 100% going to be in a different position to where I am now. I don't want to be at home when I do my next prep. So it's kind of like full force business to a point where I can move out with my mates. And I think that'll be a
mm,
better environment for me because we'll all be pushing each other. We're all in the same boat. My mates prepping to compete this year, so that's going to be really exciting to see for me to help him along with that as someone who has competed before, but also is now a coach who is looking to put some clients on stage in the next few years. So it'll be really interesting for me to see from an external point of view,
mm,
helping him. But yeah, like moving out with him because he's always had this better mindset in terms of dieting, in terms of like locked inness, where he can literally just like flick a switch and everything is dialed, and like no matter how hungry he is, no matter how whatever, his mindset never wanders. And I kind of need that in terms of having someone else just to keep me accountable. Like I was in a
mm.
relationship when I was in prep that broke up 5 weeks out. Surprise, surprise.
Oh
A
my
lot of
God.
yeah, a lot of things happen 5 weeks out, but um, yeah, we broke up, and the main reason we broke up was I just didn't feel like I was getting support from her. Like
Mm.
we were in a position where I had no sex drive. I had my
Well, you
hormones
don't
were
really.
ruined.
Yeah.
I just had no interest really, and my overall attraction to her was going down. And that's a bad thing, but it was what happens. Um,
Mate. Mm,
but yeah, and then yeah, we just carried on from there, and I just didn't feel like I was getting support from her. I was getting to a point where I needed someone to tell me no when I was like, oh, I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to just have one of these. And I need someone to say no, and they were just very encouraging with me having it, and it just
mm.
didn't help me. And it was like I'd come away from being with hers, do a check-in with my coach, and he'll be like, "What the fuck happened?" And I'm just like, yeah, we don't talk about it."
Yeah, I think you touch on a couple of really important points there, Charlie, like really important points. So environment, relationships, like as much as you can have this drive to want to do a competition and to be and getting thick skin lean is not something that many people achieve in their lifetime. And
Mm.
it is not a it's not an easy, enjoyable process.
No.
It's going to require a lot of places and things to be in the right position for you to actually be able to do that. And if your environment is off, if you don't have the support of families and friends, if they don't know what's going on, if they don't know how that is going to affect you, like from a personal relationship, whether that is, yes, very low sex drive, you could be, I don't know, insert name of celebrity that you fancy, right? That walks into the room. But if you're 3 weeks out from a show, like, they
You
may
have
as well
no
not be there.
interest. Yeah.
You don't care, right? Because yes, hormonally, we're going to see massive downregulation of testosterone because you're basically in survival mode and your body's just trying to like hold on to everything it can. But
Mm.
also you're focused, right? Your focus is like, I've just worked my ass off for 22 weeks or 25 weeks or however long your prep is, right? Of posing and dieting and training and cardio and steps and saying no to things when you want to say yes. You're like, that's not worth it. Go away. Like you're just not you're not interested in the grander scheme of things. So yeah, those building blocks of foundations very important to have them in. And I think obviously, like you said, a lot of things happened 5 weeks out for you, and like how that then knocked on affected the rest of the season for you could be very different. But you'll take that, you'll learn from it, you'll improve, you'll get better, and that you'll also now have that experience and wisdom to be able to pass on to other people. That's the biggest thing because we've made the mistakes. I think
Yeah.
people think, well, like, as coaches, we're like these perfect creatures have got everything figured out. Like, anyone
I'm still
listens to this
learning.
podcast now, mate, no, we don't have this figured out.
Yeah. I'm still learning as we go. And like, let's go to habits, for example. I'm still trying to build habits myself. I'm trying to still make sure things are locked in. It's like if I could take a pill and be back in um, prep mindset, if I can take a pill and be back in like having, I, this is kind of controversial, right? But my 10 weeks post show, I still had no sex drive. I didn't get any of my hormones really back fully until like 10 weeks after. If I could, I'd go back to that point. Like I'd go back to not having anything because I didn't
Become a
care about,
eunuch.
and literally I didn't care about anything else. And I was so focused on everything. Like this is when I started my business and I was so
Mm.
laser focused on making sure everything was perfect and making sure every inch of things was perfect. And I just loved the fact that I didn't care about anything else. And that sounds really bad, but that is kind of
No.
the way it is. And yeah, I think 5 weeks out was a very, very difficult time. It was kind of the peak of relationship in my house was kind of breaking down a little bit. Obviously, I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, had some family issues, family problems going on, and it's like everything built up, but a lot of that was subconscious. A lot of that wasn't like if you would have asked me at the time, is this affecting you? I would have told you no, because
Mm.
I didn't really think too much about it. It wasn't on the forefront of my mind, but it was there. And I think that is the issue that a lot of people realize is just because you're not thinking about it doesn't mean it's not there. Like you still got to confront these things. You've still got to understand your emotions and how they work. And if you're not understanding them, then you're going to find a lot of problems and you're going to struggle. I remember my mum telling me, she was like, if you don't win these shows, like what happens? And I went, well, nothing happens. It's just a continuous process of getting better. And she's like, well, if you don't win these, I want you to get a therapist. I was just like, what? And she's
Well,
like, yeah, because your mindset towards all of this is like skewed. And I was just like, you're living in cuckoo land because this is my life. This is my choice. This is the path that I want to go down. Just because I'm dieting to a point which everyone else would class unhealthy, and it is, but in effect, it's not because it's a choice. Like if you choose to
mm,
get to that point, it's not unhealthy. If
mm,
you're kind of, and it's slightly different to an eating disorder, and the fact
mm.
that we're in
You don't
complete
stay there.
control we're in control at all points. It's like we're thick skin lean, but we're in control. And we haven't got an eating disorder because we could go and have a takeout literally that day if we wanted to. And a lot of us do want to. But yeah, I think people misunderstand bodybuilding for this eating disorder. And it's not like, yes, we eat to we in a bulking phase, we eat to the point where we're overeating and we're kind of gagging and stuff like that, and we're force feeding ourselves, and then we in the opposite end in a prep we're starving ourselves. But again, everything within that is in control. Like we're controlling every part of the process, and we can also say no and stop it at any point in that process. And I think that's what people don't realize. An eating disorder, you don't have control over. It's an uncontrolled eating disorder. That's what it is. You either eat uncontrollably or you don't eat uncontrollably. There's no in between, whereas we have complete control when we are doing the stuff. And I think that's just kind of the beauty of it. It's like people put so much negative over bodybuilding, but it's like a beautiful sport. It's so beautiful because it's like you're choosing to live this way. You're choosing to push your body into these extremes. And the reason everyone downfalls for it is because no one else can do what you do. And that's why we do it.
You touch on a couple of interesting points there. So with the food, and obviously the the people have a very narrow scope of bodybuilding, because what they will see is people very, very lean on stage, all tanned up, all the rest of it, with the photo shoot and all the pictures that come online for that, right? But they don't see a lot of time maybe the starting points, or they don't see the in between points. They don't understand maybe why you're doing it, and how, yes, in for a short period of time, especially towards the latter stages, probably like for guys sub 10%, for females sub 18. Okay, some people can get away with it a lot easier than others. Like you mentioned, obviously your like hormones didn't really bounce up until 10 weeks past, right? Mine didn't get back to baseline for about 4 months. like until I actually had an active sex drive again and actually like felt
Yeah,
like
about
I
the
could
same.
push it. And then I pushed so hard because I was so happy that everything was back to teetotal that I ended up burning out late February. Like, and my last show was October. So there was like a case of I had no idea what was going to happen post show. And until
Yeah.
you go through that and realize the cascading effects of hormonal issues that you have to take time to nurture, especially being natural. And then with the eating side of things, I think people see that because they'll watch the post-show binges as well, which I don't agree with, to be honest with you. And I didn't do myself either. After even my shows, I was very much controlled with my coach, very much a very purposeful reverse diet out because we wanted to make sure that I didn't fall back into old habits for a start, because you can do a prep and go straight back to be like crap again. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, how many people do you know that have done a show, got lean, put on way too much weight, and then kind of like their off season's not gone as well as it should have, and then they start to doubt and question themselves, and it's a slippery slope down, right? So yeah, there are some things to watch out for, like especially for natural bodybuilders post show or around that and around that mindset, and developing healthy relationships with food and remembering that there are principles for long-term success here. And do I believe you need to eat as much food to gag on it? Probably not. Like, I think if you're doing that, you might want to look at your food choices and have a look at the type of food volume wise, what you're getting in. Like, can you make that more efficient? Can you have a look at how your GI is regulating food? How is everything going with that? Like, do you have the capacity? You might need to move to like 2 protein shakes at 1,000 calories eaten in 2 meals if you struggle to get things in, right? Because there is going to be a natural capacity, and a lot of guys in the off season, that eating food that you just mentioned there, that's actually what stops them being able to grow, because eating quite a lot of clean, lean, very nutritious food is a lot harder than it sounds, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it is. And I think it's funny because when I was first doing my bulk, so I'm someone who I'll stay low fat all year round, really. Like,
Mm,
I can be at 4K calories and still be eating 40, 50 grams of fat in a day. Like, my fat consumption isn't that high. And that's 90% of the time because like I don't care about it in the facts.
mm,
Like, I don't need really fatty things. Um, like my main fat source is probably eggs. Like, the most I'll have in a meal. The reason why a meal will be high fat was just because I have eggs. And I have bacon medallions, and I have that all year round, prep or off
mm.
season. Eggs and bacon medallions, goated. It's like literally had that just now, and it's like the best. And then you smack a bagel on top of that in off season. Oh, gorgeous. And then if you're lucky, you get 2 bagels. And I drill this into all my clients, and it's the fact that like, my clients are like, "Yeah, but you took out my bagels," and I'm like, "All right, relax." And I know how they feel because I feel the same when my coach pulls my bagels, and he
Mm.
has, and I'm really upset because I like my bagels, and now I have to have eggs on top of the bacon medallion, and I just eat it like this. Um,
I
but
have
yeah,
an eventuality where I move from like toast or sourdough to bagel thins to then the Waterburn thins, and I will keep moving that down as much as I can to keep some kind of sustenance to it. And then when
yeah.
they have to go, they have
We
to
did
go.
that in the last prep. My coach moved me to bagel thins, and I was on bagel thins for like 4 months. And I
Mm.
forgot what bagels actually tasted like proper
Uh,
bagels. I actually forgot because then we went from bagel thins to nothing. And
mm,
then all of a sudden after prep, it was like back onto bagels. And oh, I'm not even joking, bagels are the best thing in the world.
yeah, yeah.
Like, it's one of the only reasons I want to go to America is to try their actual New York bagels. Because I
Yeah,
know that
yeah.
for a fact someone was saying in New York, like the best places to go are like the little delis on the corners because they just do unreal food. Um, and I think for us in the UK, that's kind of like weird. We're like, what, the corner shop does the unreal food? Because like we'll go to a corner shop and it's like this, it's just poor food choices, like loads of
Mm,
crisps and
mm.
chocolate, and then there's like a whole wall of energy drinks, and then you're talking about some deli where you're actually like getting top notch food. So definitely excited to go to America for that one. But
Yeah, bro.
yeah, I think it's a difficult one. And like going back to the gagging over food, I think it depends on kind of what you have. Like personally, I can't have shakes because it just doesn't sit with me. I find that if I have a shake, it will mean that I won't be able to have another meal just because of how I'll either feel bloated or it just won't digest as well as normal food. So for me, it's kind of like I'll go towards rice pudding or something like that, which is high carb, um,
Mm.
really, really carb dense, but it'll digest really quickly. Um, but yeah, I think it's different for everyone. I think some people can push themselves to limits higher than others. I think for some people, once you get to a point where you're starting to gag on food, then that's kind of like, that's your limit. For other people, they can still push it more. And yes, you might be gagging food, but a lot of the time it's depending on the time of day. Like if you're very, very strict on what you eat and the food you're having, and you have a day where you've pushed all your food back for too long, and now all of a
Mm.
sudden you feel like you're catching up and you're eating food in a quicker time period than what you usually are, you're probably going to find yourself running into the fact that you're not hungry, you're still full, and you're having another meal. And that's when the gagging starts. And it's not a lot of the time, yeah, it's down to food texture. Like I can eat a banana and like start gagging on that, and that sounds really gay, but like I get the texture of banana, even if I'm empty stomach, will still make me gag.
Mm.
Um, and that's just kind of like everyone's different. It depends on how your body reacts to textures of food and stuff like that.
Mm.
But I think the main one is like when people are full and they try and eat, that's when you gag.
Yeah, because obviously in the off season we don't want to kill appetite. You
No.
kill appetite, you're in trouble because like you're not going to want to eat that next meal, and you don't want to keep
Mm,
driving performance up throughout that. So you make a valid point there about structure, meal timing. Sometimes just having to catch up with your meals. I've had to do that. Last night I was on another podcast as well, and I was like, oh crap, I haven't had meal three yet. And I have to kind of combine meal three and four, like my Greek yogurt and my rice and chicken meal, like almost as a kind of main and dessert. But I'm quite fortunate that for me, I can pretty much slam anything. I don't get too much like gastric distress or anything like that whatsoever. And you're right in a sense that context is key there to the individual. Like I think everyone's digestive system is like slightly a little bit different. Like I've never
mm.
met like some people that are always like exactly the same. I can eat same foods exactly the same way, the same amounts all the time. I think it's very unique to the individual. There's a lot of messing around and finding out what works for you and what doesn't, but there's always some overriding principles around structure, specific meal timings, balance and portion of these, what you want included in, probably what you don't. Like you said, you run very low fat. Now I can actually run very high fat, low carb, and you're like, nah, I'm pretty low fat kind of guy. And I've come over time to realize that I can probably get away with anything less for me, because when people say low carb, that's very, very specific to the person. And I'll give a shout out to a couple of mentors that have taught me this. Like if you had a Tour de France guy doing his thing, 1,000 grams of carbs might be low carb,
Yeah.
like for him. Right. And for us as bodybuilders, if we're not doing a crazy lot of hard cardio and hit, like I know that I'm in a diet phase right now, any lower than 200 grams of carbs, I start to go hypo on cardio, and I start to feel like performance starts taking way too big of a hit. Now, if I'm losing 1%, then all I can do is just make sure that those figures for me are lined up. And I think over time you get used to that and you can develop your own system, but you're never going to know unless you mess about.
Yeah, it changes based on kind of the position you're in and the way you feel. And like I've preached so many times on my podcast episodes with different people, and it's kind of like the the purpose of how you feel and like energy wise, and making sure that you're feeling the way that you should be and understanding how feeling affects stuff. Like I had a client who was telling me that he didn't feel like he was making as much progress as he hoped. So I went, okay, that's fine. Let's break it down. Kind of, are you basing it off the way you look or the way you feel? And he was like, oh, the way I look. And I went, okay, well, when you started, how did you feel? And he went, well, I was tired quite a lot. I wasn't really training well. I didn't have a lot of motivation. Like I had a lot of brain fog. I'd come home from work and I'd have naps. And I went, okay, so how do you feel now? And he was like, well, I'm really energized. I come home from work. I don't need a nap because I've still got really a lot of energy. I'm having less caffeine. I feel more hydrated. My training sessions are the best they've been. I'm enjoying what I eat. And I went, so you're saying you've made no progression, but you've changed the way you feel. And that's harder than changing the way you look. And people don't understand that. They think that look is everything and look is this big like thing in physique transformation. And physique transformation starts with the way you feel. If you don't feel right, then you're not going to look the way that you want. And this is kind of the way it is like anytime that I get a client, the main focus is making sure that firstly we get training sorted, because training is the most important for muscle growth and the most important for physique development. Once we have training sorted, then we're making sure that we're feeling as good as we can, because training is sorted now. That's you're doing that in the background. Now we focus on making sure that we're choosing the right foods that fit for your body, that digest well, that give you the energy that you need to make sure that you're getting to the point that you want to be. We sort out kind of like fat, like you said, some people need low, some people need high. That's all depending on how your hormones secrete and what levels of fat you need so your body is running correct amount of hormones. Because for some people, if they're having 40 grams of fat a day, like that's far too low, and their body won't be secreting hormones regularly. Whereas they might need 60 grams. Like a lot of females, because females have a higher hormone regulation and hormone kind of functionality, they need a bit more fat because their body needs to secrete more. So they need more of that kind of quick burst energy to allow their body to regulate hormones properly. Whereas guys, we can get away with having less because we don't have nearly as much hormones. What we do, but we don't have the same kind of cycle regulation that a woman would have over the different phases of their cycle. So it's kind of understanding the differences. But then again, like you said, it's personal. Everyone has different. I can probably run high fat, but I just choose not to because I don't need to. Like I don't really like adding excess fat into my diet unless it's kind of like my coach was like, cool, we're going to run high fat. Like I remember before my photo shoot, we ran 2 days of fat loading. So we did fat loading before we did carb loading. So we did 2 days of fat loading. I was at 100 grams of fat. And it was like my meal would be chicken and rice with 15 grams of olive oil. And it was like chicken and beef with 15 grams of olive oil. And then I'd be having like 3 squares of dark chocolate, avocado. Like my fat was through the roof. And it's for the benefits that you have to fat load to make sure that your body's going to be uptaking everything properly. And that at that point, we need hormones to be the best functioning in terms of test. But I didn't not enjoy it. Like it didn't bother me, but I couldn't sustain that level at all because it was just ridiculous. And like you're saying, I'm in a diet phase. I'm at the end of my diet phase, so I'm digging, like properly digging. And my carbs are about 220 on a training day, and like maybe even sub 200 on a rest day. It's like breakfast, meal 2 and meal 3 are all no carb, and then meal 4 and meal 5 carbs. But I needed it because, and this is where it comes down to people being in different phases, is I finished my bulk and my appetite was poor. I didn't really have much appetite. And as a result, it's taken me to the point where we're digging now, and now I'm kind of like starting to get hungry. But I wasn't being hungry, and I was actually kind of telling my coach, can we drop food a bit more just to kind of make me hungrier, I guess, but make my body respond, because my body just we've been dropping food. My body's like, yeah, we're staying at this weight. We're staying at this weight. Oh, you drop food again? Okay, I'm going to bump your scale weight. And it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, that interesting relation, right? That stress response from the body, holding water, leptin and ghrelin, appetite regulation, insulin sensitivity, all of this like plays a role into how those things work and feel, right? So it's a
Hmm.
very valid point. Although I would agree that if you're a bodybuilder, specifically, you want to be running as much carbohydrates as you can,
Mm.
because we want to drive that into training performance. And we know that training performance is very much dictated by glycogen glucose levels. We know that there's a very good causation between within in research between even just pre-workout carbs. It doesn't matter how much you have, but if you have some, we've seen a marked improvement. We've seen that energy pathway is extremely efficient, way more efficient than ketones to trying to build muscle performance in the gym. So that would be my caveat, is like as much as you can, you know, eat would be my preferred state if you are trying to build more muscle. I think that would probably be the best advice I could give someone.
Yeah, I always focus like if a client is having food bumps or even if they're having food drops, depending on whatever stage they're in, pre and post are always my focus. So
Mm,
if they're bulking up, they're going to have additions to their pre and post before they have additions to anywhere else. Like they can
mm,
still be having a no carb breakfast, but that's
mm,
because I've put so much more into their pre and so much more into their post. I always have more carbs in post than pre because I feel recovery is more important than fueling beforehand. Obviously, you need enough to fuel, but at the same time,
mm,
um, there's kind of that fine line between making sure an athlete isn't overly focused on the pump and they're not chasing a pump, but at the same time they're having plenty of carbs to recover their post. I think that's
mm,
a really important balance to find, and it's one that is fine tuned for different athletes. Some people don't need as much for pre, but they need more for post. And some people who need more for pre and they don't need as much for post because their body is very, very good at kind of um, regulating like recovery and just in general feeling better. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really one to talk. Like we've dropped down to sub 200 carbs and I pulled 220 for 4 for the first time. And that was like a 15-kilo increase on my stiff leg from the week before. So I
mm.
can't really
Big.
say that. Yeah, I can't really say
It
that
works for
training
you, right? Big
performance is
Steve.
going down. Yeah. I
Doing
think that
well.
just comes down to understanding the way you feel. Like I could feel that my training performance was actually increasing and getting better, even though food was coming down. And I knew that I understand my body extremely well to the point where I can tell my coach, it's like, okay, we can pull food down because I know that I'm not hungry. And if I'm
Mm,
not hungry, I'm not at a point where my body is actually pulling fat and it's not actually getting to a point where it's getting leaner. Um, so we can pull it down a little bit more. As long as training performance is staying the same or increasing, then it's a win-win.
mm,
So we just pulled down and we're just going to probably hold this dig state for a couple weeks and then we reverse and do like a heavy reverse. Like we're planning on doing the next push up to be really aggressive and just seeing how we can get. Like I'm 84 now, 83 this morning.
mm,
And we're trying to get down to like 82. We want 82 by the next couple
mm.
weeks, maybe even a little bit less. And then we're going to hard push for like 95. So you're going to see
Interesting stuff, man.
Fat Boy's back.
Fat boy tabs.
Fat Boy tabs.
Yeah, interesting points there. Very interesting because, like I said, the uniqueness of this journey through bodybuilding is very bespoke to each person. But we know there's a lot of tools in the tool belt that we can use for that. You know, like I'm
Yeah,
107 kg, so like
must be
for
nice.
me, mate. You say that right, but finding clothes that fit right and sitting in things like trains and airplanes, mate. Like you're a slightly taller guy as well, right?
Mm,
Right, so we don't fit in things at the best of times, man. You bulk on some size onto you on top of that, and things start to become very uncomfortable.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I work in a wind tunnel. I'm an indoor skydiving instructor, and I was saying yesterday, I'm like, I can't wait to be 20 kilos on top of what I am now, struggle to get into my suit, struggle to get out of my suit, but most importantly, just struggle to move in general. Like, I'm going to be bigger, I'm going to have less mobility, I'm going to be feeling heavier, but I can't fucking wait. It's great.
I
I'm so
remember feeling that way.
excited.
I remember feeling that way, and now that when you get that way, you're realign other things as well. So like my goals now are actually to make sure that I still have certain levels of flexibility and mobility, because I can actually bite you in the ass when you're trying to do certain other movements or in the gym, or from a functionality standpoint, or from
Yeah.
even from a weakness standpoint, you start to realize things. But for me, like, I know that I'm bottom heavy, so like I need to kind of go next time, because I depleted around 88 for my shows, and then on stage about 91 and a half, 92. So I know that next time I do this process, like if I've put on more upper body mass, then I probably shouldn't ever see that again. And I'm sure you're probably the same way now that you've gone through an off season. You're like, I'm never gonna get down to that point. And that's the aim, right? And I think a lot of people, when especially Gen Pop, they'll chase their high school weight, or like their college weight, or what they were before they had kids. And it's like, you need to realize that you probably won't ever get back there again, because you should have more muscle on you since doing that,
In effect, I agree, but in effect, I also disagree, because, like, my eyes is always, so I stepped on the stage at 78, or I think it was about 78. The lowest I got, which was 5 weeks out, was 74.5. So that was my lowest. I don't think I'll ever see 74.5 again, which is great. But at the same time, like, I almost want to get back to 78 to see how much bigger I am, to see how much more conditioned I am at that point. Like, I know for a fact that there are so many, and this is the beauty of stepping on stage, is you can see your areas. And it's where, when people are like, oh, I stepped on stage, but I couldn't get my glutes in, like my glutes were just never showed, or like my hamstrings were never as peeled. And I'm like, do you not understand what that means? And they're like, what? No. And I'm like, it means you don't have enough muscle in that area. The only reason you can't get something in is either because A, you haven't dieted hard enough, which for some people is the case, but for most people that isn't the case. For most people, it's just simply like, you don't have enough muscle on that. You look at my stage photos, anything from the back, like my upper back is peeled. Like my upper back is like really, really, really lean. And then my lower back, you can see there's still excess there. And the reason is because I didn't have enough size in my lower back. There wasn't enough muscle in my lower back. Like my legs, I was 10, 11 kilos up in 10 weeks post show. I still had striated quads. Like my legs are still lean pretty much year round, because in terms of, for the muscle group, the size of muscle I have on it is a lot larger than the rest of my body. Therefore, it takes a lot more for my legs to be out of condition, because for that area, for my body, they are large. They're not as big as I want them to be, but they are a dominating factor in terms of size. So as a result, they stay in condition, and it takes a lot more for them to get out of condition. Whereas like my midsection, for example, which is probably quite a lacking factor, I'll lose my midsection very, very quickly, because there probably isn't enough muscle there. But also that's just where my body stores it. So it's kind of finding the mixture between where your body stores fat naturally, but also the places that are hardest to come in are probably because you struggle to you don't have enough muscle in that place, so you struggle to get in condition. Like, you look at guys who are 5 weeks out and their glutes are absolutely shredded. That's because they have massive glutes. Like, they have really, really good density and size to the tissue. So as a result, they get in really, really good condition. And then you might look at their back, and their back might be slightly soft. And that's because their back is probably a lacking factor compared to everywhere else. So it's understanding muscle distribution, and everyone's different. Like, where would you say was your most peeled and the easiest to get in? And where would you say was your hardest / might not have come in at all?
Interesting that, because I felt like it took a while for my legs to get in, but that's because it was more about, like you said, first time dieting, like
Mm.
actually getting lean enough to be able to see that. But once they come in, they're a dominating part of my physique as well, and I had glute
Hmm.
striations as well. But my lower like back and everything was absolutely like, I had lower back striations 10 weeks out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was silly, but like my chest, for example, just didn't quite pop, or like my arms were lean and vascular, but like they took a while till the tricep separation started to come in.
Hmm.
So it can, and you're right in a sense that there is a, I don't want to call it a genetic predisposition for body fat to be stored in certain areas, but you're probably going to find that is like, oh, like my glutes were the last to come in, or my legs were the last to come in. Like that's quite normal, because as kind of body fat kind of goes from, like, you know, feet and car, like head and cheeks and neck, and it kind of goes down to that kind of midsection, because that's the point where it's supposed to be there around the hips and the lower abdomen, because it's there to protect and cushion, because you don't have any bone structure around it. There are some caveats there, especially for female to male, where fat differs in storage as well. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, my glutes took a while to come in, but once they're in, then I actually could see the striations, which I would plug on top of what you've been saying, is that people can try and chase that and not actually have it, because they don't have the muscle density, they don't
Yeah.
have the tissue there to have those deep serrated lines.
This is why it's so important to have a good relationship with your coach and to make sure that your coach understands your body well. Because similar to what you're saying, it's like sometimes you're chasing a condition that you can't get. Like, no matter how much dieting you do, and this does come down to muscle size. It's like if your glutes aren't big enough, you will never get them peeled, if that makes sense. Like, you'll get
Mm,
them very, very lean, but you'll never get them peeled. And it's to the point where, like,
mm,
so my glutes were like, the back of my glutes were probably not as big, and like my upper shelf wasn't as big. So as a result, like they took a while to come in, and they didn't actually come in as much as I wanted them to. Whereas when you look at my side leg, the side of my glutes were really, really striated. But then once
mm.
I hit a rear pose, like it just wasn't as dominated. And that is because I didn't have enough size on it. And now I'm doing a lot more hinges to focus on that glute focus as well as lower back. And now all of a sudden I'm stiff legging 220, and it's just like the best thing in the world. I love lifting heavy. Um, and it just goes to show it changes with everyone. Like you don't understand these things, and you have to learn to come across. And that's the beauty of bodybuilding. You're just always learning, and you're always understanding how to improve, how to be better. But this is why, like, anyone that speaks to me and they're like, "Oh, I want to step on stage, but I'll get a coach when I prep," and it's like, no. And I'm not saying this as of I don't necessarily want you to be. I don't want me to coach you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need a coach in your off season, because your coach is so important for your coach to understand your body and go, especially if you're a first timer. If you're a seasoned competitor, then cool. You probably at that point, you know your body really, really well, and you can tell your coach everything they need to know going into a prep. Like, you see clients, or not clients, you see athletes all the time switching coaches, and then they start with a coach for their prep, and you look at their prep and it'll be good, and they'll step on stage in a really nice condition. But then you look at their next stage presence once they've been with a coach for an off season and a prep, and all of a sudden they bring the best condition they ever have. And it's not coincidental. It's because they have allowed their coach to understand their body well, understand how their body reacts to different things, different foods, different training styles. Like you said, your legs took a really long time to come in. For a lot of people, that is fatigue. And a lot of people, it's because they keep cardio in for too long and they keep fatigue on their body. Like, some people hold um, high levels of fatigue in their legs. Like,
Mm.
when I had the podcast with Finn, Natural Physique Coaching, he said that he pulled cardio out 4 weeks. I remember for my final show, I still had cardio in like 3 days before, and that's
Yeah,
just because
we pulled ours a week and a half, 2 weeks before, because yeah, you do not want that inflammation and water and
no,
fatigue holding
you
on your
don't.
legs.
and you don't understand how, and fatigue is an interesting one because it just makes your body hold ridiculous amounts of water that doesn't need to be held. So it's just understanding these things, and that is one thing that you just learn as you go on, and the more practice you have, the more stage occurrences you have, and that's why people are like, "Oh, I don't want to step on stage if I'm not going to win." Just shut up. Just shut up. Like, get as many reps as you can. Get as many reps as you can. Literally do.
Mm,
Look at Jack Eagles. Jack Eagles this year round, I think
mm,
he's planning on doing like 6 or 7 shows. But
mm,
before that, like what his first 2, 3 seasons, he did nearly 12 shows in those 3 seasons, maybe even more than that. And that's because he wanted as many reps as he can in terms of stage. So the point where he was stepping on stage at 21 against people who are 23, 24, and he
mm,
had nearly double, if not triple, the amount of stage presence than they did because he did so many more shows. And that's so important in the fact that he understood to a T his carb up process, his diet process, how his body reacts. And these are really, really important things. So, like, as much as doing shows really close together is a really, really good thing because you kind of keep yourself in that mindset, you also kind of need that, like, say, for example, 2 weeks, you get a little bit of reverse, you then hold, you then come back down. You get that experience of re-peaking after one after the other. But then I also think it's really important that you do back-to-back weekends because then you allow yourself to not have that reverse and be like, cool, we've come out of a show, we dig, and then we push up again. So it's kind of like
mm.
finding that fine-tuned balance, but just reps. If you're planning on competing, reps, 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 just keep doing it.
Yeah, I do find that experience is invaluable. Like you said, like what happens if I do back-to-back weeks? How does my body respond? Like if I have one
Mm-hmm.
show one weekend and one show the next, like how does it look through that? And like you said with Jack Eagles there, I guarantee you he's got so many data points and information and experience on how his body, his mindset, physiology, everything, like for him, obviously the enhanced aspect as well, like how it all reacts and entangles. And a lot of times you'll see the guys that do very, very well are not afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
really important thing.
I think on that lovely bombshell, mate. I want to thank you very much for spending your time on Saturday morning with myself, mate. Where can the people find you?
So Charlie_Taverner on Instagram is my personal. And then you've also got um, Built with Intent podcast. I started my own podcast, which Martin will be featuring on an episode very, very shortly, which is very exciting. We had a great chat on that one. So yeah, if you want to tune in for a podcast, then Built with Intent podcast. If you want to tune in for myself, my clients, those kind of things, it's Charlie_Taverner at Instagram. And then you've also got my own personal YouTube, which I haven't posted, so don't worry about that one.
TBC, mate. Yeah, TBC.
TVC, yeah. Like I want to get
TBC.
back into it, but it's just with filming in my gym is very difficult because the lighting is very harsh. So anytime that I try
Mm,
and film with my camera, it just doesn't look the best. So I'm still figuring that one out, but I've got some plans in the works for future with videographers and photos. So
mm.
hopefully we're gonna have some
Sick,
good
man.
stuff in
Sick.
the
So
meantime.
what's the future hold for yourself, Charlie? What's going on? When's the next time you're going to be competing? What's coming up for you in life for over the next year or two?
So compete in 2027. This year is going to be hopefully a very, very productive off season, a very big growth phase. I basically want to go into my next comp season and I look completely different. I want to basically transform. But this year is a lot of focus on business, growing the podcast, growing my coaching brand, trying to get myself to a name where people recognize. Um, yeah, it's just more eyes. Obviously, with this podcast growing, I'm planning on getting more and more people to see my name and recognize me and be like, oh, this guy's cool. I like him. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it from me. It's just growing coaching, growing the brand, the business, and then growing myself. And hopefully people will tune in along the way and enjoy it. And that's all I can ask for.
And like you said, maybe potentially move out, find some people to live with and get in that amongst that environment. And who
Yeah,
knows,
so
some fellow anime fans as well.
They're not into anime, unfortunately, so it'd just be me. But yeah, planning on moving out with two of my best mates. We've had this
Sick.
plan in a while, so that would be really, really good. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wicked, man. Leveling up in all aspects of life. Love to hear it, man. Yeah. So thanks for everyone tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.